Right, closing off festival week. Rookery Waters, the 2-dayer. It was on Raven and Magpie. Now, they did the draws the night before, so I knew where I was going. And my week of draws has continued. I've drawn 25 on Raven, which, in all fairness, is a great. It's won some matches this summer, although in the festival 23, the MPEG of that section dominated, or 28 where you've got a big reed bed coming out and they've been catching shallow. It wasn't where I wanted to be. I say it has won some matches on the mud line, but it was really, really cold. It's the first day it felt cold. Didn't want to be on the mud line. Really windy again as well. Not ideal for a snake lake. Wind hacking down. The bottom pace 28 and 29 have been out the wind, so that was going to be an advantage, especially if it fished hard like I thought it would do, because they would be able to present the bait. And then I thought 23 would be good. Really tough section. Alex Reynolds on 23, me on 25, Simon Godfrey on 26, Tony Evans on 28, Richard Bond on 29. Proper section of doom, and I just couldn't see what I was going to do there. You weren't going to be able to fish across. I plumbed up. I have plumbed it up anyway, set a rig up for the mud line. See why it wins so many matches. You've got bare bank there. It's one of the only places with all bare bank. There's no reeds or anything to fish to, which is what I felt you wanted, a bit more depth. You've got 14 inches tight over. And then it just comes away a little bit, and then it's like a cliff face, down into 7 foot. So you hadn't really got, I wanted to fish in 3 foot really, you hadn't really got the 3 foot to fish in. I've set a rig up for it, like a 414 carbon float, but it was going to be really hard with the wind as well at 11 metres, just laying your rig into the bank. It was going to be really hard work because it was such a cliff face. I've thrown maggots down the middle, set up 3 or 4 shallow rigs in 7 foot and a deck rig. I started on pellets short, on like top 4, still in the deep water because it slopes away really quick. Never had a bite on that anyway. This edge looked lovely, again 14 inches and then straight down. There wasn't the choice of depths that I wanted because I felt 2.5, 3 foot is where you wanted to be. Then I've got a long edge this way, and it was like it was like the moon. It was all over the place, like this, and then went straight down. I have thrown maggots on a top 6 there. Again, you couldn't really lay in, but I had got that 3 foot there for about that much, but in the wind it was a nightmare. I set a little feeder up, a little tiny pellet feeder on a 9 foot rod to underarm across to the far bank on the mud line just in case. To be honest, it took me an hour for my first bite. Wasn't fishing right where we were. When I did get it, I've fed the 11 metre line on that 3 foot of big cup maggots, half a big cup of maggots, and not caught, and I've changed to putting a little nugget of ground bait in as well. I finally did catch on that, but it was a perch, and I've caught 2 more perch, and then I've dropped down the middle on the deck, and I've caught a carp about £3. First proper fish after an hour and a half. And I've caught 4 more pretty quickly, and I thought I'll be alright here. And then what happened is some F1s moved into the peg, and they sat above the carp, but you couldn't catch the carp when the F1s didn't want to know either. Really switched off. I caught 2 deep shallow, but that was it. And then I never caught anything again for an hour and a half. It was the worst I've ever known it. And I spoke to a few people, they've had the same. They caught carp down the middle, and as soon as the F1s turned up, they didn't catch any carp, but they couldn't catch the F1s either. They didn't want to know. Yeah, so eventually the 13 metre line, or the 11 metres in the 3 foot, I've had to change to a 418 wire float with 3 foot of line above my float. It was that windy, but it's the only place I could get a bite. The edge, I fouled at 4 there all day. That wasn't right. It's just the bottom again, all over the place. I've changed to a big toss pot full of maggots, tapping that in, and then when it, and I've actually caught all right there, fishing 3 maggots on the catching carp. And then as soon as F1s moved in, it was the same. You couldn't catch, the F1s didn't want to feed, they were just sat there with all the rain and everything we'd had, like they do on snake lakes. They just sit there and mess your peg up, in all honesty. I've had it at Heronbrook and places like that. They just don't like it when all the rain's gone in. They just sit at a depth they're comfortable at, not feeding, but it puts everything else off and makes it like just getting liners and stuff from there. And with the the long line and the steep bank, it was just you miss a bite and you couldn't get your rig to sit back right again. It'd take a couple of minutes getting right in the wind. If you went that far back, your float was sticking right out of the water. That's how steep the shelf was, and your boat was a foot away from it. It was just not that. Everyone I spoke to said that peg never had a chance today in them conditions. Sadly, a couple of weeks earlier it would have been. I'd have fancied it for a weight on the mud line, but. So yeah, every time the F1s have started getting all the funny bites from F1s, just putting half a big cup of maggots in, a little bit of ground bait and just trying down the edge and leaving it to settle, and then the ground bait definitely brought the carp in. A lot of people said that as well. And in the end I've weighed 83 pounds, which is I beat next door. There's been Alex had 90 pounds down the edge. Tony Evans has won it off 28 on the reeds. He's caught shallow to the reeds, which is what I would have liked to have done, like deep shallow against the reeds. Then he's caught really well down the edge. They've all had like 2.5 foot down the edge, so I've not had that. And then Richard on the end's had 90 pounds, so fourth in section, festival over. Worse, I've never been fourth in the section at Rookery before in my life. I'm normally there or thereabouts. Just a terrible day in all honesty. I always look back and think what I could have done different. The only thing I would have done, I caught one down at 11 metres long down the edge. I did find a little bit better water there. Caught one, but it was only one late on. I should have fished 16 metres down the edge to the next platform, where it would have been a bit flatter around the platform. Should have just fished that and across. I could have caught the 90 pound, who knows, maybe if I'd have had a better run down the edge, like Tony Evans has had 16, 18 carp down the edge the last hour and a half. Yeah, maybe I could have definitely caught the 90 pound. Don't know about the 110 that Tony had, but a second would have been a lot better than a fourth, so could have caught a few there. Definitely things I've learnt this weekend. It's just not fish I wanted, but everyone I spoke to, the peg did terrible the second day as well. Just so steep. You need the right depths on snake lakes, and this didn't have the depths I wanted. It's as simple as that. So bit frustrating. Again, they did the draw for the second day. I was obviously on Magpie now. Drew 17 on Magpie down towards the 16s in the corner, and you're in with all the back bank. Again, I drew the same section of anglers almost. I swapped Tony Evans for Adam Playford. Adam was on 14 next to me. I was on 17. Richard Bond was over on 10. I just knew those back pegs was going to be so much better than where we are. My peg had come second in section the first day. He'd fished quite hard. He'd had 140 pounds. He'd fished long down to 16th platform. It's like 13 metres. It's nice and flat 2 foot there. I thought, did that be alright? My approach was going to be there. Some little pads come out. I was going to throw maggots there, catch up and down there hopefully. I was actually going to start on micros and expanders, just try and get a few bites, move around the peg. I've done well on that before. And then I was going to I've got loads of casters left, so throw them on the top 6 once I'd stopped fishing micros. But I thought, again, it's with the anglers on them good pegs, I thought it'd fish better today than it had the day before. I thought I might be able to catch 200 pound there, doing what I was doing. But I thought I was on a hide into nothing again. So I started on micro expanders. I've caught 2, but I was getting lots of liners. There were obviously a few fish moving about, so after 20 minutes I started throwing casters on it. Gone shallow, slapped in. I've had 3 5-pounders. Quickly I thought, I'll be well away because I love my caster fishing there. I've never had another bite on it all day. So I've gone down to fished on the deck by the pants, maggots, caught 1. A few liners, gone shallow, caught 1, then nothing again. I wasn't too worried at this point. And then they've all started to catch, they've all thrown, well, Richard's fished pellets short in the edge, they've got deeper wedges there, like in 3 foot. Adam's next to me's been catching 1 a bunk, throwing maggots on top, getting 1 in the edge in the same sort of depth for 4 foot. So I've gone down the edge, and it was alright to start with. They were coming in, just a big cup of I fed a bit of ground bait to bring them in, and just one of the XL sort of pots full of maggots, just tipping that in. and it's, yeah, you'd wait a little bit. It wasn't as quick as them, but I was catching a few, so I wasn't too worried. But then as more fish came in, they weren't feeding properly. I think it's the depth again. Like I say, that's how you caught yesterday, so that's what I'd had to do, but it was a different day. You were fishing for a lot smaller weight, you clearly weren't today. So halfway through, I've come back, there's a little tiny tuft of reeds there, top getting a short 4, just stopped doing everything else, hoof maggots in on that. And I have caught a few, it's got better and better. Something I've not done on there, my rigs weren't quite right if I'm honest. You wanted it tight to bank, you fell looking a few because I was fishing out, and you want it tight to the bank so you can hold your rig against the bank, and didn't have the right depth of water there again. But I've caught a few and I've ended up with £180, but they've had 280 and 340 along the back there. It's fished much better today. It's been 300-300 weights. Again, never in the running off that pig. If I could have fished maggots short, just done 2 lines, rotated them, maybe I could have caught the 280. Would have been a hard push, so it was festival over. So again, lots to learn from it. That maggots thing's been working very well on there. Definitely got to try that. The caster didn't work. I thought it would. Normally the last 2 hours, even when it's a bit harder, the caster goes, but it didn't. I stopped feeding it in the end. Should have just been a bit more positive and fished them 2 lines, but I wouldn't have caught the big weight. It wasn't on the right peg for that big weight again, so did just draw out a bit, unfortunately. With some bit weaker anglers, maybe could have got a couple of results for the pez, but with the anglers I had in my section, unfortunately, you put good anglers on much better pegs. There's not a lot you can do about it. So that was that festival. But really, it's first festival I've not been in the frame or pushing the frame, I think, or won. So a bit disappointing, but we picked ourselves up. Now that was going to be my fishing done for couple of weeks because I've got a lot of coaching coming up at weekends, but as you'll hear in the next video, we did sneak a little something in and that went a lot better. So I will be back in a minute with the last of the match reviews for you. Catch you then.